Alright, let's start this YouTube live here. There has been a bunch of movement in the markets. BTC has took a bit of a bump from the $9,600 zone and then took a next step up, broke a previous level of resistance, new level of support. We'll definitely get into that. But there's definitely some interest from the buyers. We'll do another crypto market update, but I just kind of wanted to open it up initially for the BTC markets. By looking at the overall market, we're seeing a lot of buy volume in the altcoin market, seeing a lot of breaks in the descending zones, breaking of resistances, holding of support. So we'll dive in, but I will be keeping a close eye on some of the alts that we're going to be looking to enter. A couple of them are going to be Binance Coin, maybe, but definitely Link we're looking to enter if it holds a nice new level of support, and then TRX. So now to get on with BTC, like always, we're going to start off with a larger time frame. Probably going to start off with the weekly because this candle is about to close. Basically, we are right where we opened, maybe a tad down because it's closing red, but we still have just over 4.5 hours left on this candle, so we could, if we get another move to the upside, close green, which would be a very, very bullish candle. We see a massive wick to the downside. The wick came all the way down to this point here, but then climbed back up from the bulls, buying into the market, and then is closing very, very close to where it opened. So lots of bullish volume there. There was volume from the sellers as well, but we can see that the open and close was, or there was more distance from the open and close to the downside. That shows that bulls were really, really able to push up the pair and basically get it to a place of equilibrium where there's not there's a balance between the buyers and sellers, which is pretty much equal, and there's no real discrepancy between buyers and sellers, which got the price to basically where the open was. On the weekly, we don't see a whole lot of volume. We see decreasing volume, which is all right. If this was a very, very low amount of volume, that would be a little bit of a no supply. But right now, we do see that there's still a decent amount of volume. There's a lot of transactions that took place on the weekly chart. So overall, we'll see if it closes green or red, but either way, it's a doji, it's an indecision in the market, which is a pretty good, I guess, candle closure for us because we are looking to enter on a potential low here and then try to get from demand to supply, but we'll see how that goes. Now for our 3 daily charts here, we're starting off with the CME futures. Just gonna get a drink of water or drink of coffee here. So we're able to hold this nice level of support. You can see it's a very well respected zone throughout the entire chart of 2019 and then 2020 so far. Resistance, nice new level of support. We're not getting a tremendous amount of volume on this daily candle. We did get a push up from the bulls. Now we can see that there's a lot of wick action to the downside, which signifies that there is bullish orders here, that there's bullish pressure keeping the price above a certain zone. We see this candle especially had a massive wick to the downside. And then even the previous candle had a long wick to the downside. We can see that right here. And then also the previous daily candle, we can see that had a wick to the downside. And then it closed basically more than 50% above the distance it traveled to the downside. So there's a lot of buyers here. We know that. We'll see how this current candle closes. There's currently not a whole lot of buy volume within that candle. Well, I guess the market would be closed, so this is how it closed. So there's really not a lot of buy volume there to begin with, but we'll see how it goes. That's a little bit worrying, but like we can see here, there has been times where we've gotten very, very little amounts of buy volume, and then it picked right back up. So yeah, we'll definitely see how it goes. And then the Gemini Exchange, which is just the 24-hour market compared to CME futures, and then we'll go and use the Heikin Ashi candles for the last daily chart, holding that nice level of support pretty well. We do see this decreasing amount of volume coming into the market. A lot of sell pressure trying to push it below our major structural support level, which is right here, which is also our zone of confluence with the descending zone and the horizontal zone. So the bears did really try to push it down. We see with this candle here, there was a lot of pressure, a lot of attempt and confidence to try to push it down, but unfortunately for the bears, they could not get it above. And let's just talk about what we're seeing right here. So we see a high right here, and we see a lower high. So obviously we're going to try to potentially connect the lower highs, and we're going to have a bit of a squeeze. Now BTC has made it close to the next level of a lower high potential just by connecting the descending trend lines we'll talk about on the 4-hour and hour chart. But we also see lower lows. So we're kind of making a channel here where we're squeezing closer towards the demand zone. So it has to make a choice because this is kind of the apex here. We could hold this low and then we could hold the lower highs. So we're not completely out of the structure yet or out of the consolidation. So we do want to be cautious for entering longs, and that's why we're being a little bit more patient with our entries at this point, because BTC hasn't really made a higher high or hasn't really pushed above the structure. We did enter around this zone, or maybe it was a little bit lower. We caught a little bit of profits on the way up, but with all the entries we had with the different alts, we came out a little bit under, so we lost a little bit of money from this little push here because we were in many alts. And we're going to be a little bit more patient at this time because we could just be holding a nice new level of a lower high, and I don't really want to be entering at that point in time. And alts do look good at this point, but I'm going to be a little bit more patient, see what they do, see if they could break the structure right now that they're currently in, and see how that goes. So that's the daily chart for Gemini. And the last thing is the Heikin Ashi candles that we use on the 4-hour and daily candles. I'm just going to get another drink of coffee here. So let's start off with the daily candle. We see that, so the Heikin Ashi candles are going to represent more momentum based, whereas the other candles that we normally use, the candlesticks, are less momentum based and can be a little bit more noisy in the direction of the overall momentum, whereas Heikin Ashi is more geared towards the momentum. So we see that we do have the first candle here that is green in the past handful of days here. We did have a previous candle within the consolidation node that was a doji. It was an indecision in the market. It did close green, but then the next candle after that was also a doji, but it made a higher high and a lower low within the wicks there. So there was a lot of volatility within that small 2-day time frame. But now it does look like we are popping up a little bit, but like we can see in the previous pops, we don't have to enter on the first one. We do see the momentum is starting, like we can see in a lot of other moves to the upside after the consolidation, which is great to see. But it still could be holding this lower high situation, like we drew in on the 4-hour and daily candle. So, like we can see, it is basically touching that zone. So we want to be cautious entering heavy. I think feeler positions are a great opportunity in this point in time because some of the alts have broken above our zone and have broken the key level of resistance and are holding the nice new level of support. That is also a confluence zone for the buyers, so it's great to see for alts. But BTC has a little bit of consolidation left within it that could play a little bit more to the downside before actually finally breaking out, which would then create a little bit more of a bearish move potentially for the alts that we're currently looking at. So we're going to be patient and have a plan and stick to it and not get sucked into any trades by emotion. That's never a good option. So we're going to stick to our guns, stick to emotionless trading, and basically stick to our bias of a bullish move, but we're going to be remaining cautious. We're going to be remaining cautious for this point in time until we're able to see a nice clear potential break of this resistance zone. So overall, it looks pretty good on the 4-hour and hour chart of the Heikin Ashi candles. Now we can go to another set of 4-hour candles, but this is the candlesticks that we normally use. Paints a similar picture. We do have an ascending trend line, so let's just talk about the squeeze that we're having. Already kind of talked about the Heikin Ashi, but we didn't draw this ascending trend line on that particular chart. So we see an anchor point reversing. So this is a reverse resistance turning into support. So it's a pretty respected zone. And if we do see a rejection off this resistance here yet again, I am looking for the price to potentially bounce at this zone. I obviously don't want to be entering at this zone because really the risk reward would not really be worth it because the next resistance point would be right there. It'd make more sense just to wait, be patient, and wait until the price breaks the zone or the squeeze either to the downside or upside. I'm definitely expecting the price to break this zone of resistance. Even if it does fall down here, we could see something like this occur where you have a break and then a pullback. Or if we just see a break right at this zone, we might not even get a pullback, and that's why we're potentially thinking about entering these alts, or definitely considering looking to enter at least some feelers because they are in some good positions. But you can see that there's a resistance here, kind of throughout the chart around here. So it's a zone of confluence for the sellers where we have a descending zone and a horizontal zone acting as a nice level of resistance. So we do want to be cautious because we could get a rejection here, and then a lot of our other alts will probably follow the same price action. So we want to make sure that we are trying to get the best possible entries. So BTC is in a good position. We're looking for something in the volume that shows very, very limited amount of sell volume and significant buy volume in comparison to the sell volume. That would be ideal. That would be showing a lot of volume accumulation and not much supply going on within this range. That could potentially indicate a move towards the upside, in which we want exposure for the longs somewhere within the market, maybe not even with BTC, but that gives us the ability to make some money if this asset goes up. So now for the hour chart, this is that previous level of resistance. You could draw it in a bigger zone, like we could draw this whole zone right here as a zone, where we see a lot of sensitivity within this range right here. So I'm just going to leave that there, and then we see another level of resistance right at the 10K zone, psychological zone, as well as a pretty important, significant area within the chart. And then we probably have one more range at the top here, right around here, where we were rejected last time, right around here. And then we probably have one more. So I don't want to make it too confusing, but I also do want to have all the major significant levels identified within the chart, so I know where they are. So that's basically going to be my 1 hour chart. Within each of the ranges, there's not going to be a whole lot of movement, but if we do break this zone, we're looking for levels of confluence, and why we're identifying these horizontal zones is because if we do break towards the upside, we're looking for areas of pullbacks that could potentially be nice new levels of higher lows. So this is a higher low. It looks like it's holding this range, which is great to see, but we are just below this level of resistance, which is a horizontal zone and a descending zone, so it's a level of confluence for the sellers. So we want to remain cautious. We'll do a crypto market update that's going to show the different alts within the market that we're going to be looking at. But obviously BTC is the market leader, and we want to be really making sure that we understand what BTC is doing, or we try to understand what BTC is doing to give us a little bit of a bias of what's happening within the overall market. So looking at the descending zone, we see an anchor point right here. Now I could put the zone right here as well. I did put it at the body close of the previous candle. Either way, it's kind of going to show you something different. If you put it a little bit higher up, obviously it's going to project a little bit more downwards, so you get a little bit more of a downward projection, but I thought it'd be a little bit more conservative and make it a little less descending, kind of like that, or obviously a little bit less descent, or a little bit more descending that. So we got our anchor point right here, and then we got our first rejection right there, and then we got two double top rejection, really signifying that zone as a nice level of resistance. And we got another wick touch with a type A wick touch right there, really showing that it is a level of sell pressure right at that zone, and we see that signifying with a long wick right there. And we are holding this new level of support, which is good. So we're just in a consolidation. This was our markup phase because this was probably in an accumulation phase. This is more VSA, volume spread analysis, where you have markups and markdowns and volume accumulation, volume distribution. Basically, this is the accumulation phase where there's going to be institutional buyers within the market. We can see that because of lots of volatility with wicks towards the downside. We can see that right here and here. Right here and right here, and also you see volume accumulation within the volume, where you see more buy volume taking place than sell volume taking place, which obviously indicates that there's more buyers in the market than sell volume. And then we got our first market phase, which is right here. So then the buyers took all the coins at this point, so then they need to take out all the asks in order to find new coins to buy. And that's the first stage of the market phase. We blew the previous resistance and are holding it as a new level of support. So structurally speaking, it's looking good. It's looking technically sound. And this could be the reaccumulation phase, the small minor consolidation before the next markup phase occurs. So that's why we're looking for longs in the market. And we can see that obviously this is a strong level of support where there could be a potential markup or accumulation phase within this area. So that is the overall analysis on the 1 hour chart. Looks pretty good. pretty happy with the overall structure with it. We see lots of buy volume coming in within the market. We see a tightening of the volume right here, which could indicate a nice move soon to come up. We see that there is a very, very low amount of both buying and pressure, which is kind of like an equilibrium. The buyers and sellers can have a level where they're comfortable with it, so there's not a huge discrepancy. And then once this occurs, there's going to be some disruption in the market that will then shift the price one way or another, and then there's going to be a reaction, and that will change the price significantly. So overall, that's the market for BTC. Now let's look at the different tools that we have. First, we got the trades that were opened on margin on the Binance exchange. So this is all the trades that were opened on margin for BTC on the Binance exchange for longs, and this one is for shorts. And the thing we talked about for the shorts is we see that there's a massive drop off in the amount of margin trades that were opened on the short side. So the confidence basically from the sellers on the Bitfinex exchange has completely diminished. It's completely fell off a cliff. And you can see the line right here that there is a level of support that turns into a new level of resistance right here. So psychologically speaking, there's a level of demand here that the sellers were able to hold above. The sellers were able to have enough confidence to think that the price was going to go down, so then they're not really closing their short positions that much. They're able to keep it above a certain zone because they have confidence that the price will go down. Now, after mid-2019, when the price went to 14K, there was a massive shift in confidence where the previous level of support right here turns into a new level of psychological resistance where the bears are not able to get above a certain zone of margin trading or the margin positions opened or the amount of margin trades opened for BTC because of the psychological resistance zone we can see right here. And yet again, it got absolutely demolished back down to its previous low. So we're just in a consolidation right here, psychologically speaking, for the bears, and we're at the lows. So it could mean that we're climbing, but at this point in time, there's not a lot of margin shorts that were opened, which does mean that there's not a lot of squeezes or short squeezes that could come into play. We can see that right here, a lot of positions were closed, meaning that at the buy. So that could be the move that occurred. The margin trades were closed, so then they had to buy, which then would shoot the price up. Now talking about the buyers, we got a massive shift in volatility from the upside, downside, upside again. So we do have a potential to hit a resistance yet again, and then see kind of a lack of the margin longs opened on Bitfinex. But it's really nice to see that the buyers have stepped up, not once but twice within this major macro trend to the upside. And we were thinking that we could make a nice little channel here. We did not. We broke to the downside, and we're kind of forming lower highs and lower lows, kind of making a downtrend. We'll see where it takes us. We already kind of talked about the technical side of BTC, so it does look pretty strong. So we'll see where it goes. We're just basically making a downtrend here. We'll see how far it goes. We could maybe test this previous support yet again. Previous resistance and support could go all the way back down here. We don't exactly know, but we'll see how the bulls react to the market on the Monday morning. So that's the visuals of BTC. Not a lot of options for short squeezes because there's not a lot of shorts open. There's actually a lack of shorts on the margin. BTC margins opened on Bitfinex. A little bit of taking profits, a little bit of closing of margin trades on BTC longs on Bitfinex. But we do see that the bulls are really open to buying up BTC on margin, and they've done it once and twice, so they could do it a third time. What would really signify something is if they were able to break the previous resistance right there and form a new structural higher high. That would show a level of significance that would increase the confidence in the bulls in my eyes. But at this point in time, we're just consolidating just sideways right now. So the last thing we're going to look at is the different exchanges, which is going to be right here. So we got BitMEX, Binance, and Bybit for the three exchanges we're going to be looking at for the kind of any discrepancies between the bulls and bears. So first, looking at the 24-hour exchange, we see BitMEX with more weight towards the bulls or the buyers. We see 53% towards the bulls and only 46% towards the sellers or the bears. On Binance on the 24-hour time frame, we see not a lot of discrepancy, 51% versus 49 basically, towards more weighted on the bulls or buyers. Bybit, a little bit more towards the short side, 50.5 basically, versus 49.5 towards the bears. So not a huge discrepancy on the 24-hour on either exchange. BitMEX has the most with 53% versus 47 on the short side. So a little bit more weighted towards the buyers. Now taking a look at the 1 hour chart or the 1 hour time frame, we see that the shorts definitely have a little bit more control. On BitMEX, we see 54% versus 46% on the short side. On Binance, we see 51.2 versus 51.8 versus 48.2 on the short side. So definitely the shorts are taking a little bit more trades on the 1 hour time frame. And then Bybit actually has the most amount of short side. We see 62.3 and then 37.7% weighted towards the short side. So definitely on the shorter term time frame, the shorts have a little bit more control. But on the longer term 24-hour time frame, there have been basically a similar amount of positions opened for buyers and sellers, maybe a little bit more weighted towards the buyers from BitMEX and Binance, but overall pretty even on the longer term time frame. So that's the overall analysis for BTC. I hope you enjoyed it. Just taking a quick look at the 1 hour chart, we see just consolidation continuing. We see a really consolidating amount of volume, so there's less and less volume coming in. So this consolidation phase could be coming to a close, which would then mean we're going to get a move either to the upside or to the downside. So we'll see how it goes. I'll do a crypto market update here very shortly, talking about the different alts within the market that we're taking a look at. And if you have any questions, just drop them within the YouTube comment below or within the Discord, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. So hope you all have a great weekend, and hopefully you are all ready and able to trade the next week. Hopefully it'll be a good week. Hopefully we're able to break the consolidation next week and get some nice moves towards the upside. That's the bias. That's the overall outlook for, I guess, until March, I would say. So I guess next week's the last week for that. So we'll see how the market goes. We are looking a little bit closer towards the actual date of the halving, which is I think May 14th. This is on May 1st, so this is the starting of the month of the halving. So we got a few more candles to go on the monthly here, but it's coming. I don't think it'll be a massive jump, but we can see last time this was around the time of the halving. We didn't get an instant move, but we're talking, a handful of months after, a year after the halving, then you really start to see the momentum shift and the buyers enter the market and the parabolic move commence, where you're getting significantly higher highs and higher lows. That is what you're looking to have on the monthly chart. So definitely got a little bit of time before then, but it's all coming together. Great to see, and we're just taking it day by day. So thanks for watching, and until next time, happy trading.